Rob and Slim Show.
Hi, this is Vong calling.
Vong, how you doing? Vong, how do we refer to you? Vong Show or just Vong?
Either. Yeah, on stage I go by Vong Show, but most people just call me Vong, I guess.
Cool, cool. And you are the official spokesperson for Gay Super Cute Asians. How did you get that prestigious title?
Oh, it's funny. I started out comedy in Alberta, which is sort of like the Canadian version of Texas. So I had to come up with a tagline that introduced the fact that I was gay, and then win them back because they'd usually gasp when I said gay.
Oh.
So then I had to say super cute after it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it too, because
Yeah.
even in your comedy, sometimes it's like you can't tell if the audience knows if you're serious or joking. I love that. I love that stuff, and I love you seem to go all over the place too with like real stories and then jokes. You do a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
How long have you been doing comedy?
I've been doing comedy for 15 years, and I've been in Toronto doing it for about 10 years.
What's the best spot in Canada to do it? Is it Toronto?
Oh, 100% Toronto, for sure. Yeah, when I was, after I first started in Alberta and I started to get a level of success, I had to choose between Toronto and Vancouver. And those are pretty much the only two markets. And
Wow.
I chose East Coast because Toronto, you get the choice of the East Coast Triangle, like Toronto, New York, and London, England, as like the English-speaking places.
That's
and I
cool.
thought that was a better fit for my
Yeah.
kind of humor, because my humor kind of challenges audiences a little bit. Whereas
Yes.
West Coast, they more, in my opinion anyway, West Coast would probably be friendlier to the fact that I'm gay and Asian. I could do a lot of gay and or Asian tours, but I think it's more laid back. I think they more want to have fun, whereas here I can kind of push a little bit more and challenge the audience.
Cool, cool. And you're a headliner, correct?
Yes.
Is that more stressful or less stressful than like opening? Like, is it like a different set of stresses, or like how does it work?
It's definitely different. In some ways, opening can be difficult as well because the crowd isn't as warmed up. So it all depends on how good the MC is. But headlining is kind of fun because I get to sit at the back of the room and kind of listen to see how the show is going, and then I can incorporate some elements from what happened before in the night. Whereas if I'm opening, I don't get that opportunity.
We've also heard before, too, that you're limited when you're opening, and when you're a headliner, you have more freedom. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, well, you're definitely limited in the amount of time you can do. And also, I find, especially with headlining, people are coming for you. They're coming because you're on the poster, and they'll probably lift you up a little bit. I mean, especially because of me, I'm not a standard type of comedian, not just being gay and Asian, but also my material's a bit more challenging. So I find if I'm not headlining, if it's like a co-feature and my name's not on the poster, sometimes the audience doesn't know how to take me. Whereas when I am headlining, most of the time people are coming for me, so I get a little bit more freedom.
What's the craziest thing you've seen performing live?
Oh shoot, there's been a couple things for sure. So when I first started doing comedy, I was working at the local newspaper, the Calgary Herald, writing the obituary section.
I did see
A lot of my
that.
comedy, yeah. So a lot of my comedy was about death and family and stuff like that. And so when I first started, I was very pre-scripted because English is like my second, third language. So if I had to deviate from the script too much, sometimes I trip, like even right now, I trip over some words if I don't have it pre-scripted. So before I went on stage, I had exactly what I was going to do. It was going to be about writing obituaries. And then the MC was asking people in the audience why they were there. And one person, literally, the first person at the front of the crowd said that they were going to die in 3 months, and this was on their bucket list.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so I was totally panicking because I was so new. I was like, I don't really know how to change my material because I didn't have the experience, and I was like, I'm going to trip over my words or whatever. So then what I had to do is I I ended up, I just had this thought of like, what, I'm going to bring this person up on stage, and as opposed, because I can't just do the material of people dying without addressing this person. So instead, I brought them onto stage and incorporated them and made the whole set about giving them advice on how to die. It was a little bit morbid, but so I would say that's probably my craziest show.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was definitely an experience.
How did that person respond to that?
You know what? It's kind of funny, but we became really good friends, and
That's
I actually when I went and toured through Calgary like a few months after that show, maybe 2 months later, and they obviously hadn't died yet.
That's what I was
came
gonna
back
ask.
through town, and I actually saw them again, and it was I think they appreciated it because when something like that is happening to you in your life, most people kind of walk around eggshells, and so they weren't used to somebody just kind of like bringing them in and incorporating them and talking to them in a way. Because for me, I talk to people who are in crises all day long when I was in that job. So, you don't really have time to sugarcoat it, and I think most people appreciate it when they're in that position.
Wow. Did you say English is not your first language?
No. At home, my parents. So at home, we spoke Laos, and I also, growing up, I had to take Lao school, Thai school, and Mandarin school.
Wow.
So yeah, English is probably like my fourth language. Although I've lost my Mandarin, so I guess English is.
Wow. I was going to say, what's been the hardest language to master?
I would say Mandarin, just in that. So my mom is on the Chinese side of the family, and my dad's family is from Laos and Thai, which is where I was born. And so generally, culturally, we tend to follow the culture of the dad. So because we didn't speak Mandarin as much at home, I kind of lost that, unfortunately. Although business-wise, it probably would have been the more lucrative language to do comedy in.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask too, are your parents more accepting of you doing comedy or being gay?
Oh, you know what? It was both. They had difficulty on both, for sure. So with comedy, I kind of had to buy my freedom, or quote unquote buy my freedom. So I went to University of Calgary for engineering, and then after I was done school, then I was able to do comedy because then they knew I was doing comedy by choice, not because I couldn't get a quote unquote regular job. So that was sort of the thing. So like going to school for engineering kind of bought my freedom. And I don't think they fully accepted my doing comedy until I did. Probably my first big breakthrough in Canada was I was the headliner for Comedy Cares in partnership with National Post, which is our national newspaper here, or one of our two national newspapers. And they gave me this half-page ad in the paper with my face. And my parents had the newspaper was nice. They put it in this glass case, and they made like a plaque version of it, and they sent it to my parents.
That's
cool.
The
first time I felt like they really got what I was doing.
Yeah. I was going to say too, you mentioned Comedy Cares. Is that the organization that you founded, correct?
Yeah, so Comedy Cares. So Comedy Cares, we partner comedians and charities to raise money for worthy causes. It's been going on for about 8 years now. The first one, I started the organization when I was working at National Post, and they have a charity called Raise a Reader. So our first show was called Laughter for Literacy. And obviously I was there. I headlined it. It was my first big headlining gig, and it was really great working with them. And since then, we now work with different charities, and we've got another show coming up in the fall. So we usually do one big gala in the fall, and then if there's other smaller local charities, we can do one-off shows for other charities to raise money.
Cool. And I want to ask Vong, why do you hate farmers so much?
Oh, I don't hate farmers. In fact, my first 3 boyfriends were farmers.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Because I saw our intern just. I think he's.
Just like,
I think you turned our intern on right now.
I'm
Vaughn.
just saying.
very
like,
interested in.
He's like a lumberjack style
If
guy.
you dated a farmer and
Yeah.
you don't like farm, that might be the
That could be.
Oh yeah, yeah. That is true. So when I was dating, so my first 3 boyfriends ended up being farmers. Probably because I'm completely sober. I've never even tried drinking or drugs or even coffee really, for whatever reason. And so when I was first coming out in the gay community, that was seen as very odd. In Toronto, it seems like it's seen as odd in general that I don't drink or have never tried drinking. And so when I first came out and was dating, I just made it easier to date other people who didn't drink or do drugs, and that tended to be farmers.
Wow.
So, yeah, my first 2 boyfriends were farmers.
Yeah.
I would think they would have been drinking like their corn whiskey or
Ooh,
something.
yeah, like
No,
Or their
if it's
moonshine.
Canada,
Their
it's
moonshine.
rye, dude.
the rye.
Rye,
That's
yeah.
what I was thinking too. Yeah, like yep.
Yeah, well, you know, there's because I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I guess the farmers there's like a lot of Mennonite farmers where I guess due to religion or whatever, they don't really
Wow.
drink.
See, I can't
Yeah.
get by. I can't get by without coffee and nicotine and alcohol. I don't know. I
Coffee,
can't even imagine that existence, Vong.
Coffee, alcohol, some weed
Yeah,
here and there.
yeah, I will. I will say though that even though I don't drink, I'm quite often mistaken for being drunk. So I guess for me, drunkenness is like a bit of is more of a state of mind, because if we're out partying, I'm usually the first person on the dance floor, and I'm waiting for my friends to catch up to me by getting drunk. In fact, I'm very supportive of my friends getting drunk so that they're more outgoing. Yeah.
Have you ever dealt with a lot of hecklers doing comedy, Vong?
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's definitely because they started out in Alberta, which, I'm not sure how well you know Canada, but Alberta is like sort of like the Texas of Canada. It's very cowboy, it's oil country, a lot of oil money around there.
Oh, wow.
Not as diverse as say Toronto. There's like a chapter of they have like a pretty big chapter of the KKK in Alberta, which people tended to come up to
Doesn't
me and
make
tell me about.
any sense.
Wow. Holy crap. That's crazy.
Yeah, so Alberta very much prides itself on being different from the rest of Canada. Personally, now I will say I was just 10 years ago since I lived there. So from what I understand, they're much more in line with Canada. Like when I used to live there, they had like a 2-tier health system, which was the only place in Canada. Whereas obviously Canada is known for full health coverage, except for Alberta. So they were really different. So because of that, performing in Alberta definitely had hecklers. I remember probably the craziest scene was I was in Edmonton at one of the big comedy clubs there now, which I'm actually banned for life after this incident. But I was there and they didn't realize, I guess they hadn't looked up my bio when they booked me to headline, but it was I was booked for an oil field workers retirement party. And so I get up there and I do like my tagline, like official spokesperson, very gay, super cute Asians, and like the crowd looked like they were in total shock. But yeah, so it just kind of descended from there. And I would say with the heckling thing, it's definitely a part of the job, and there's different types of hecklers. Like, sometimes it's totally innocent, like somebody who the MC was talking to and they don't understand the difference between the MC and the headliner. Like generally you talk to the MC but not the other acts that are pre-scripted.
Yeah.
Or or somebody is they're a little bit drunk, or somebody who just thinks that they're actually helping the show. You kind of treat those hecklers a little bit softer.
Yeah.
I've got like one of my lines is I'll just be like, oh, you see an Asian on stage, so you think it's karaoke, but this isn't sing along with the Vong. So, you kind of treat them a little bit friendlier because, it's an innocent mistake. You don't want to like hit them with a bazooka and then make everybody feel like, well, what's going on? But in this situation, it was crazy because there's this row of people they're sitting at a table, and somebody put down like $100 on the table and was like, "I'll give this $100 to whoever can fuck this faggot up the most." So as you can imagine, they just started yelling crazy shit. And like, I'm from Winnipeg, which is like the Detroit of Canada. It's like the murder capital of Canada. So I'm like straight up ghetto. I was like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. So then they started throwing things. I might have, so my dad like trained me in Muay Thai, so I like might have jump kicked somebody. Anyway, I'm now banned from that. But yeah, so that was probably my craziest heckling story. Usually
is there
it doesn't
footage?
get that crazy.
Vong, is there footage of that? I want to see. I want to see that. Not that I want to see. I want to see you spin kick somebody. Wow, dude, that's bonkers. That
is crazy.
Yeah.
Muay Thai, man.
Yeah.
Remember,
Wow. So it is true. All Asians know some sort of fighting skills.
Well, I'm not sure if like Canadian-born Asians, but definitely most foreign-born Asians, I would say, because I was born on the way to a refugee camp, because at the time Laos was being taken over by communists, so we like escaped Taiwan. So I would say anybody who's first generation who wasn't born in Canada, I would say the majority of them are taught some type of way to protect themselves, because it's sort of like where we're from, you can't just walk around without being able to defend yourself.
Wow. How old were you when you guys moved to Canada?
We landed here, I was 3 years old. Yeah.
Do you remember much of being over there, like in the refugee camp or anything?
No, you know what? It's kind of funny. I describe it as like, I don't have memories, but I have like memories of remembering, if that makes sense. It's like, when I was younger, I could remember more clearly, and because of that, when I was younger, I used to write. I would write different stories, like even when I was in elementary, where it was still in my mind what happened. But now I can't remember myself. But when I read those things that I wrote when I could remember, so it's almost like I have the memory of a memory, but not. Like, it's not as clear now.
Yeah, things get fuzzy, man. Like, yeah, sometimes I'm just like, wait a minute. Like, yeah, yep, I agree. I agree with that. It's just like lifetimes ago things seem. What, have you ever performed in the U.S.?
I have, yeah. About 7 years ago, I came down. I was at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco. I had been called up by a producer with MTV, I think for their logo network, and we taped a special called One Night Stand Up, and it was a really great experience. It was my first national TV show, or not show. It was a single taping, so it wasn't like a series or anything. But it was my first time on national TV in the U.S., and it was amazing because it was at the Great American Music Hall where like super famous comedians and singers like Aretha Franklin has sung there and all that. So just being in that space doing comedy was super amazing. And obviously being in San Francisco, for a gay Asian comedian, like that's kind of the mecca, because you think like the capital of the gays and the capital of the Asians in North America is kind of San Francisco. So it's kind of perfect. Yeah.
Cool. And what were you gonna say? Something?
I have a really offensive question.
Oh.
When you go on stage, do you? When you go on stage, do you turn up the gay a little?
I would say not in the way that I speak or perform, but maybe in the way that I dress, because you want say. I would say when I'm on stage, you generally try and stand out a bit. So maybe I'm wearing brighter colors than I would in real life.
Okay.
But I would say that's the main thing.
Yeah,
I would say when I'm on stage, what?
I was just gonna say, from watching your act to talking to you, yeah, I don't think you seem different.
I got a question. Who are your favorite comedians from back in the day? Like old school comedians.
Oh, back in the day, I would say the first comedian. I'm not sure if he's super well known in the U.S., but he's a big comedian here. His name is Sean Cullen. and he came through Winnipeg when I was young, and he performed at a show called Just for Laughs on tour. It was my first time seeing live comedy, so he really stuck with me. For American comedians, definitely, and I feel like I need to get a different hero. But like when I was first starting, I would say definitely Bill Cosby. I know he's kind of fallen from grace, but I would say that I would say for my style, it's more storytelling. It's about how he grew up in real life. So
his act was great.
Elements that he did.
Honestly, like as a person, he's a piece of shit. But like his comedy was no doubt. It was revolutionary.
Yeah, he did. He had a great
He was
act.
fucking funny. The chocolate cake act. I fucking love that.
Yeah, and then I would say more, and then I think too, when I was growing up, definitely seeing Margaret Cho's special. I think it was called "I'm the One That I Want" or something like that. That really resonated with me. And I would say of the current comedians out there, he's been around for a while too, but I would say Chris Rock is definitely
man.
somebody I really look up to.
That's cool. Cool, man. What I saw too, Vong, you were in the Gay Games?
Yeah. When I'm not doing comedy, I'm usually playing gay sports. I probably play sports like 6 times a week. It's kind of sad. It's my main social outlet.
That's cool. What is your sport of choice?
Oh, pretty much everything I can get my hands on. So when I was at the Gay Games, I was the only athlete I think ever to medal in 4 separate sports. So I played badminton, tennis, volleyball, and table tennis.
Have you ever thought about going pro with any of them?
No, they're more for fun. Probably the one that I was the closest to being serious at was badminton when I was younger. I used to train like 5 hours a day. When my dad was in Thailand, he used to be on. I'm not sure if he made it quite to the Thai national team, but he was pretty high up there. So when I came here, he really trained me and my brother. And so that'd be the closest. I would say the other sports are more for fun, and I probably have more fun with them because with badminton you kind of peak at 18 to 22. So now whenever I play, it's just kind of like a sad shadow of what it used to be.
I gotta ask. I'm an ignorant American, and I've seen badminton, but what do you do in it? Do you catch the little thingy, or do you swing it back? Like, how does it work? That little birdie.
So you hold a racket, and it's kind of like tennis, but instead of hitting a ball, you're hitting a birdie, and the racket is smaller, and the birdie isn't allowed to drop.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny because like a lot of my sports friends, they also play gay football, which is huge in the U.S. They have this thing called the Gay Bowl every year. It's actually really big. And like my football friends or my volleyball friends will make fun of badminton, but like I'm telling you, of all the sports, a half hour of badminton is more. I would say badminton singles is by far the most physically demanding sport I play. I could play tennis for 5 hours versus a half hour of badminton.
Wow.
Like absolutely, badminton singles, it's crazy.
So that answers my question because I was curious because they're all similar sports to you're hitting something over a net, so you feel like they're all very different though.
Yeah, I would say badminton. You know what's funny? The different racket sports are actually not conducive to each other because they're almost too similar in a way that it'll mess you up. So very few people can play badminton and tennis at the same time because one is more risky and one you use your whole arm. I would say actually playing volleyball and tennis is like a better combination because then at least you don't mess yourself up for the other one. And I definitely like the individual sports, but I think with volleyball and football, I like the team aspect as well. So I think I get a little bit of something from each of the different sports.
Cool. Vong, we have to wrap this up, dude, but it has been amazing talking to you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I was listening to the show earlier, and I listened to a few other episodes too. But no, like, your show is definitely super funny, and it's been an honor to be a part of it.
Thank you, man. It's been great having you on. I hope you didn't listen to Driz. He's got a lot of issues. I don't know that guy. We gotta get him.
He likes those teddy bears.
He likes some teddy bear action. Vong.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with sleeping with a teddy bear, right?
Not the way you like to.
Driz. Yeah, no. If there's one thing I've learned from the gay community, it's that no matter what you look like or what type of person you are, there is somebody with that fetish.
Yeah,
I want to say too, real quick, Vong. I love your "That's not Buddha. That's not a statue of Buddha" joke of the day. That had me cracking up. That had me dying.
Wait. Can you do that?
Can you tell a joke for Slambo? We never ask that. We never ask any comedians to do a joke. But can you do your Buddha joke for our intern?
Buddha's a figure I really respect. He really is.
So my Buddha joke is that this was at a time in my life where I had gained about 50 pounds because I got a knee injury, so I was like a little bit larger, and so I ended up going on a date with this guy, and we get into his house, and he has all these statues and paintings of Buddha, and at which point I would generally leave, but that night I was like he was pretty hot and I was pretty desperate, so I was like, whatever. So we ended up like on his couch making out, and he turns to me and he was like, "You're so friggin' hot." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that right now." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm really into chunky Asians." And so I was like, "What the hell, bitch?" So I get up and I get ready to leave, but on the way out, I get a closer look at these statues and paintings of Buddha, and suddenly I realized, oh my God, that's not even Buddha. Those are just drawings of random fat Asians.
Yeah, no.
It's totally obsessed.
That fat laughing Buddha, that's not the Buddha. That's the guy. He's like the saint of taverns and restaurants. That guy.
Wow, Slambo's going deep.
No, that's I didn't mean to.
I'll get you his number later, Vong. I think he's really interested, bro.
Yeah, he likes chubby Asians as well.
Who doesn't?
Jesus Christ.
Vong,
he wasn't white either.
Thank you so much. It's been a blast. Where can everybody find you?
So my website is vongshow.com. That's probably the best place to find me. Or on social media, it's @vongshow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. It's all the same handle.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, dude.
All right, thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye, Vong.
That was
so
a good
much fun.
That was
so
awesome.
That joke, oh my God.
That was a good joke.
That's not Buddha. That's just fat Asian guys. Like, so great. We'll be back.